YouTube family, it is Kieran and Rodriguez here, back again today. I wanted to make this video to show credits to the homie Blue Blood Sports TV. He made a really good video 12 hours ago that I wanted to respond back to in regards to the Andre Ward Canelo Alvarez situation. Shout out to Blue Blood for the source. Andre Ward told Canelo, I'm retired, but Caleb Plant is more than ready. Be careful. I think it makes perfect sense for why he said this. And I wanted to, say, like my piece on this, because I kind of do believe that is a really good way to get inside Canelo's head. I think, Canelo Alvarez is a good fighter, but we haven't seen him in there with somebody with skill and caliber. And it's pretty bad that, we do see that. But sadly, it's just like the matter of, I don't know. Like, everyone wants to say Canelo is this good. But when we do see the amount of competition that he's been going through, Canelo Alvarez hasn't really gotten that much, better. Other than, like, Canelo, he has a good stable of guys that push him to a high level. But the problem with this is just that, Canelo is not really doing anything, high advance with his competition. Because we could easily see that he's just been fighting white fighters. And sadly enough, when we see Canelo fight, he kind of looks worse every time when he goes out and fight. Like the Billy Joe Saunders fight, we obviously knew Billy Joe Saunders is not a slick fighter, but he was a mover, and Canelo, he struggled with him. Canelo has a hard time cutting the ring off. That is a number one weakness that Caleb Plant is going to see in the fight. Number two is Canelo does not have good defense. Canelo gets hit a lot, but it's only in the sense of he does it to get hit so he can come to you like, like your typical, like, brawler fighter style type of boxing, where you just come forward and you just hope for the best that you could land a punch. And that's really not a good way of boxing. Like, that's not technical boxing. Caleb Plant is a boxer puncher, and Caleb Plant is not going to come in there thinking that Canelo is going to be such an easy task and he's just going to have his own way. No, it's going to be a very, evil dogfight type of boxing match. But the edge that I'm going to give it to is going to be Caleb Plant. Why? Because Caleb Plant, he's more hungrier. He's coming to fight. Canelo, he's just going to come to, how should I say, do damage to Caleb, but he's going to try to knock him out, because he doesn't know how he's going to do against a slick defensive boxer puncher like Caleb Plant. And we've seen what Caleb Plant has done to guys that do just come forward, like the Vincent Fagenbutz fight. I understand, like, that's not a good fight to analyze, but I'll just use that as a good example of what his skills possess against a guy like that. Because although we do criticize Caleb Plant, well, for me at least, and other channels on YouTube, for his lack of high competition that he's been facing, because we obviously know why he did that. He did it mainly for the fact of wanting to get the Canelo fight, because he was like, okay, well, why should I risk my title to go after David Benavidez, who recently lost his title off the scale? Well, this is like prior to COVID, but when he did lose his title off the scale, there was like no need for Caleb to like really fight David, because he figured, okay, well, let me just keep him out the picture until we actually have to fight, if it's for a belt. But it's like, like, honestly, if I was Caleb Plant, I would have easily told David Benavidez, like, hey, look, I understand that you lost your belt. I'm going to give you that opportunity so that way me and you, we can yeah, so that way me and you, we can both benefit from fighting each other. and it makes our careers go higher than expected. Because the good thing about it is, like, Caleb Plant is not afraid of facing the best competition. I think it's just because, due to where things are with him and the big fights, Canelo Alvarez is much more worth it in taking a bigger risk in, versus David Benavidez. Yes, he's a high risk, low reward type of fighter, but Caleb Plant, he's also a high risk, low reward type of fighter too for Canelo. So if I'm Caleb Plant, which risk would I rather go with? Would I rather just give my belt up on the line for undisputed, or give it up on the line through a mandatory or voluntary title defense? And honestly, I think Caleb Plant did it very smart. He'd rather just go for undisputed. Like, why should I, need to stay active fighting tough competition? Which, I mean, that's how boxing should be. You should be facing the toughest breed of competition in your division. Hence why boxing needs to be marketized like the NBA. That's why the National Boxing Association needs to be in place. Because in theory, like, let's just say, like, I'll just go to women's boxing. Like, for example, like Zarina McCoy, let's just say she is fighting for a title eliminator. This is like her 10th fight going in. She beats up the girl that she beats, and she wins, and she goes on to bigger and better things. So the next thing that she would do is be elevated to fight contender bouts, which that would probably be at least 3 fights in. And then if she does well for that, and she's high enough in the rankings based on the opponents that she is facing, which, it's going to get tougher as the ranking climbing goes higher and higher, which, if she has up the skills and capabilities to do so, she should be next in line to face the world champion or champions within that league itself, because it makes perfect sense to do that. Like, theoretically, like, my motto would be, like, you could have a league, like, let's just say if it's like Top Ranked Boxing League or a UFC Boxing League, they could have 1 belt. They could have 2 belts. They could have an interim champion that will be the mandatory, to the world champion, because at least that way you're fighting the best competition just to get up to a world title. And then if you want to move up in weight to challenge another champion that's in another division, 1 face, 1 name, where you have interim and champion, themselves, that makes it a lot better, because at least that way you're unifying with the other division with your championship, title being, left alone, and then you're challenging for another world title, in another division. So I think that's a good idea. Obviously, get the fixes in, and that's perfectly set up properly. Because, I mean, in today's boxing, like, what's the point of having multiple titles if you're not going to get paid more money with it? Like, in the NBA, you get paid more money when you win a NBA World Championship. In boxing, you don't get that. Like, you have to pay all this crappy sanctioning fees and whatever, and, it don't make any goddamn sense, because Caleb Plant, he's going to get paid a lot of money, but the sanctioning fees on top of that is going to be absolutely ridiculous. You shouldn't need to be paying sanction fees at all. It's just a title. It's nothing more different than going to the store and buying a belt from Walmart saying that you're the WWE World Champion when you're clearly not. And the WWE is fake, but guess what? The WWE is still one of the best brands ever, and those guys aren't paying sanctioning fees for the belt. Because the belt itself is probably being paid off with the fans showing up to the fight. So for boxing, same thing. It should be structured like that. But in regards to Canelo and Plant, Andre Ward made a really good point about that, saying that Canelo needs to focus on Plant, don't focus on me because I'm retired. And rightfully so, because Andre Ward, he is one of the best super middleweights ever to had lived, and Andre Ward is one of the best fighters on planet Earth. I would never want to see Andre Ward back in the ring, but if it were to be possible for Ward to face Canelo, which Canelo would probably want to take that fight, which it's kind of funny because remember when Andre Ward was still fighting 5 years ago? Because he's 37, if I'm not mistaken, or 38. And when he was about 32 and 33, I mean, he got out of the game young. I know that for a fact. Yeah, like Andre Ward. Yeah, like this man left the game pretty early. I know he started at 22. Back in Andre Ward. His last fight was in 2017. So, yeah, 2021. 5 years late. 5 years, in the past would be it would it would be 2016. He was still fighting. Yeah, 2016. He was still fighting. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016. Yeah, 2016, he was still knocking fools out. And, prior to that, he beat up Sergey Kovalev twice in that fight. And, that was a good fight. It was, a very fun fight to watch. And I mean, Andre Ward, he could have fought Canelo right then and there, but Canelo didn't want to fight him. So now Canelo wants to fight Andre Ward because he's old and Canelo's in his quote unquote prime, at 31. And Andre's like, what, 37, 38? I think he's 38. I'm almost positive. Yeah, he's 38. He has to be 38. I know that. Yeah, he's 38. No, oh yeah, he's 37. Yeah, so when Ward was 32 years old, Canelo didn't want anything to deal with him. But when Ward gets old, Canelo now wants to fight him, which is just so stupid and really retarded because it makes no sense of why Canelo just did that out of nowhere. So, yeah, that's just pretty sad, man. Canelo is just an absolute joke. Andre Ward is one of the greatest super middleweights to ever come, and he could have been undisputed very quickly. He had the WBA, IBF, WBO at 175, and he once had the WBC, WBA when he fought against Chad Dawson, knocked him out cold, and then I guess after that, his WBC got vacated or stripped. I don't even know, but Andre Ward is a really good fighter. He is one of the best. He beat the best, and nobody ever messed with them. So, yeah, he is a killer. He definitely did what he had to do. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it. As far as Caleb Plant goes with Canelo, I got Caleb Plant all day, just because one, I just support my American fighters. Especially Caleb Plant. He is a highly decorated fighter. It may not speak for his resume, but I think like style-wise, Caleb Plant is all wrong for Canelo. And if Andre Ward is training him right now as we speak, just to give him like basic fundamentals on how to beat Canelo, I think Caleb Plant is more than battle-tested ready to be ready for Canelo. Because I think on fight night, Caleb Plant, he's going to show up to the fight. He's going to be focusing on his game plan, which, everybody got a game plan until they get punched in the face. But, Mike Tyson, he got a weird philosophy. But no, Caleb Plant, he's coming to fight. He's not going to come to lay down. He's getting paid like, what, $20+ million for a really big fight. I'm definitely coming to beat the crap out of you. So, a win over Canelo Alvarez would mean bigger pay-per-view money. That's going to be you and David Benavidez for undisputed title defense, because David Benavidez, remind you, he's next in line for the WBC. So what the WBC will probably do for Caleb is that they're going to tell him, hey, look, you got to face David Benavidez. He's number one in the WBC. He's gonna activate. He's going to petition to be the mandatory, and that is going to be historic. David Benavidez versus either Canelo or Caleb Plant. I don't even think Canelo's gonna want to fight him, because Canelo knows, like, if I beat Plant and I get my ass beat by Benavidez, is that worth the risk of me losing to Benavidez? And everybody knows David Benavidez can crack. But at the same time, his defense is not the best in the world, but I don't think that matters, because it's like David Benavidez is like a walking Terminator. Like, he can use good defense when he knows your punches are not landing as, as hard as his punches are landing onto you. So what David is probably doing in that fight is that he's just collecting data from you, and then when he figures you out, and when he knows that you're not that big of a puncher, and he could just walk you down, like just basically dog walk you like a pit bull, David's just gonna crack you. And honestly, he fights just like Tommy Hearns. He comes forward, he uses that good lateral quick movement with his hands, and then once he kind of gets it down, if he could just use a good like uppercut reflex, to the body type jab, where he kind of like jabs you to the body and then he's like bow right to the uppercut with either like a left or right one, David Benavidez will be a problem for anybody, because he has the athletic ability to be a slick fighter. And I think when he faces a Caleb Plant in that situation, somebody that has slickness, somebody that has defensive IQ, like, they're not going to let you hit them like that. But when David is slick like Caleb, oh yeah, Caleb Plant, he's in trouble. When David can move just like him. And it's good that he's working on his defense now, because David Benavidez is a problem when he has good D. Because when his defense is on high tier alert, you just can't touch him. And I mean, look at it from the Ronald Ellis fight. Ronald Ellis, he had a hard time trying to hit David. But then when David was like, oh, wait a minute, this guy, he can't hit me that hard, he just walked right through him. Because that's how David's style is. It's a defensive pressure puncher style. Just like Errol Spence, just like Tommy Hearns. Nowhere near the level of Marvin Hagler, but a little bit similar to him. Basically, like, David Benavidez is another he's another Ricardo Vargas mixed with, who's that other Mexican fighter that I love? I want to say Ricardo Vargas with, who's that other Mexican fighter? I want to say Juan Manuel Marquez, but I put Marquez style next to, I'm trying to think of it. Like, who is that other Mexican fighter? Yo, dude, my memory is so bad, man. Cause I put Rayo next to Salvador Sanchez. He makes me think of Salvador Sanchez. But I'll probably put Barrera or Eric Morales. Even though that they're really not big guys, and David's 10 times stronger than them. But the way he fights really technical, and he knows how to pick you down. But Marquez, I don't even know. Marquez can be next to, who's that other kid I'm thinking of? I literally just saw him. Oh, Jesus Ramos Jr. Yeah. Ramos fights like Marquez. He fights like Marquez, but he has more of a, how should I say? He has more of a Carlos Monzon type of style. No, I wouldn't even say Carlos Monzon. I'd probably say at least maybe Francisco Vargas? No, Francisco Santiago. Yeah, Francisco Santiago. Yeah, Francisco Santiago. Yeah, Santiago. Boxer. I know this guy. Yeah, he was like an old time. No, not that guy. No, I think his name is, I don't know, man. Like, I want to say it's Francisco Vargas, but still, I don't know, man. It's still difficult to put him next to anybody. But Jesus definitely fights like Marquez. But David Benavidez does fight like a he fights like whatchamacallit, like a Marco Barrera mixed with a Carlos Monzon. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because Mike Tyson said he does fight like Carlos Monzon, and I agree with that. But he's like a Mexican version of Tommy Hearns with a Carlos Monzon. because that's really how he fights. He fights come forward, but he could also fight off of his back foot and apply pressure to you with his jab, which that's what makes him super dangerous, because David Benavidez has like one of the most dangerous jabs in the world. And I think if he hits Charlo with that, or hits Canelo with that, or Caleb Plant, they're definitely going to sleep. So I just don't see that being that easy of a fight that people want to say it is. It is a very difficult fight, and yeah, you'd be surprised to see like where things are going within that mindset, especially with David Benavidez pressuring you. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to speak my piece on that, so you guys can hear what I had to say. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I personally believe Caleb Plant will defeat Canelo, and I hope that does happen, because there's never been an undisputed super middleweight world champion ever. And yeah, it would be very good to see that reality come to fruition. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, this is Kieran Rodriguez signing out. Alright, thank you. Bye. Until the next one.